The pregnancy had been a highly anticipated one. It would be the first grandchild in either of their families. The whole 9 months had been filled with joy, but that stopped when the baby was born, as Mark's reaction was far from what Jenna had expected. With both of them being white and the baby being black, Mark knew enough and left Jenna alone in the hospital. However, as the family turned to DNA testing, they had no idea its results would be something they could have never imagined. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. "Push, Jenna, push," Mark had said to his wife as he held her hand in the delivery room. "One final push," the doctor said, giving Jenna and Mark a pointed look. From this day on, she would no longer only be his wife but also the mother of his child, or so he thought. Mark could almost hear it, the popping sound as their firstborn finally released the tension within his wife. She had done it. For a millisecond, he felt pride as everything seemed to be quiet. Then, time continued as he could hear the baby crying. The body of their baby was blocked by the doctor holding them, carrying them over to his wife, but then the baby came into view. Mark sucked in a breath at the sight. His brow immediately furrowed, and he unconsciously stepped back in shock. "What the fuck is this?" Mark thought to himself as his eyes grew wide. He didn't even notice his wife's reaction. He didn't even notice that she was there, as all Mark could see was the black baby in the doctor's arms. It was betrayal and hurt that went through him. All the joy and happiness he had felt for the past 9 months had been a lie. "Jenna, what the fuck is going on?" Mark bit out. "Sure, you don't know what is going on," Mark said angrily. She had cheated on him. "What are you implying, Mark? We are married. This is our child." Mark simply scoffed at this, shaking his head. He knew she had always been loyal to him. They had gone through thick and thin. However, that didn't erase the fact of how the baby looked. "I need time to think," Mark stated as he walked out of the delivery room. He soon came into the waiting area and noticed the large scale of their families, patiently waiting to see the newest addition to the family. "Oh my gosh," Lily, Mark's sister, exclaimed when she saw Mark. "Is the little bean here? Has the baby been born?" she asked. Mark, whose red-hot anger had changed into something else. Emotion flooded him as he couldn't feel anger. "Yeah, the baby has been born," Mark said somberly. Lily immediately stopped being excited, and concern suddenly came over her features. "What's wrong? Is Jenna okay?" She immediately bombarded him with questions, trying to figure out where the sadness suddenly came from. "I need to speak to you in private," Mark simply answered. She simply nodded, reading her brother like a book. "Sure, lead the way." And Mark led the way while Lily told the family they would be right back. They rounded the corner and sat down. Maybe Lily would give him insight that would be useful with what he had to do next. After Mark told her what had happened, she stood there, almost in shock. "Jenna cheated on you," she said, anger in her voice. She reacted similarly to Mark himself. They were siblings after all. "I will go into the delivery room and talk to her and our family. You go home and take some time. You need to know your next steps." Holding her baby, Jenna felt an overwhelming mix of love and fear. The child she had carried for 9 months, the source of so much joy and anticipation, now lay in her arms as the center of a storm she couldn't understand. Lily stormed into Jenna's hospital room, her face etched with anger and betrayal. But as Lily began to speak, the sight of Jenna, pale, distraught, and visibly shaken, paused her mid-tirade. "How could you?" Lily's initial accusation softened as Jenna's pleas filled the room. As Jenna recounted the moments of love and expectation they had shared, Lily's certainty began to waver, and the seeds of doubt took root, sprouting questions Lily wasn't prepared to face. The narrative she had been so sure about started to crumble, leaving Lily grappling with a complex reality that refused to fit within the confines of her initial blame and anger. The anger that had propelled her into the room had dissipated, replaced by a haunting uncertainty and a budding sense of empathy for Jenna's situation. A newfound understanding began to flicker, casting Jenna's ordeal in a different, more compassionate light. "I didn't betray Mark, I swear it." Jenna's voice broke as she vehemently asserted her innocence. "Please, Lily," Jenna's voice softened, her plea turning from her own innocence to the concern for Mark. "He needs you now more than ever." Jenna urged Lily to stand by Mark to help him through his hurt with the strength of family and the hope for truth. "Let's do a DNA test," Jenna declared, her resolve hardening amidst the turmoil. With the sample finally sent, a complex mix of emotions coursed through Mark. Hope for vindication was tinged with fear of what truths might be revealed. Now, the wait began. Each tick of the clock seemed to mark the slow passage of time with an increased weight. As the days passed, the wait for the DNA results became a shared yet solitary burden. Each hour spent researching was an hour away from the pain, a temporary refuge in the quest for answers that might restore her life and her family to what it once was. Yet in the midst of her turmoil, a core of strength began to crystallize within Jenna. With each passing day, her determination to prove her innocence grew. She was a woman wronged but not defeated, a mother not just defending her child but also her own integrity. The day had come. Mark's hands trembled as he opened the envelope containing the DNA results. The words on the page cut through the months of tension and uncertainty like a knife, revealing the undeniable truth: he was the biological father. Stunned, Mark sank into a chair, the paper slipping from his fingers. How could this be? As the initial shock began to subside, Mark was forced to confront the biases and misconceptions that had led him to doubt Jenna so completely. He reflected on his reactions, his assumptions, and the hurtful decisions he had made. Each piece of information was a puzzle piece, contributing to a larger picture he hoped would explain the unexpected traits of their child. With each step toward Jenna's door, Mark felt the weight of his past mistakes and the hope for forgiveness. His heart was heavy, but his resolve was firm. Facing Jenna, Mark laid bare his soul, admitting each fault and prejudice that had led them to this point. His voice trembled with the weight of his guilt and the deep regret that filled him. He acknowledged the hurt he had caused, not just with his actions, but with the doubts that had poisoned their life together. With humility in his eyes, Mark asked Jenna for the chance to make amends. Jenna, with tears in her eyes, saw the genuine remorse in Mark. The possibility of mending what had been broken was on the horizon, delicate but real. As they stood together amidst the turmoil of their past and the uncertainty of their future, Mark and Jenna committed to rebuilding their relationship. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they also recognized the strength they could draw from their love and the lessons learned. Embracing their complex history and newfound knowledge, they looked ahead with a cautious but hopeful eye toward a future they would build together, step by step.